Exposed, my incredible journey to recovery after discovering my wife with my brother on FaceTime. Jake Johnson, a 34-year-old mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart full of loyalty, never thought he'd find himself in this nightmare. One moment he was tightening a bolt on an old pickup truck, the sun streaming through the garage door. The next, his life unraveled like an old, frayed rope as he accidentally clicked on a FaceTime call meant for family. On the screen, there was his wife, Sarah, laughing softly, her hair falling over her shoulders. But beside her in the dim light of their living room was Mark, his brother, his confidant, leaning into the frame, whispering something that made her giggle, a sound that echoed like nails on a chalkboard in Jake's heart. At first, Jake couldn't process what he was seeing. Their smiles, shared secrets, and the tenderness in their eyes felt like boulders crashing down. He staggered back, his chest tightening, breath hitching as the betrayal sank in. This wasn't just a cruel trick, it was a stinging slap in the face. The world around him dulled to gray, the bustling suburban neighborhood outside now a cage, each familiar street a reminder of what he'd lost, days blurred into nights filled with heartache and doubt. He threw himself into work, his hands moving through engines and tools like a robot, each fix a futile attempt to mend the cracks in his heart. Friends noticed his shadowed eyes, the way he forced a smile that didn't reach his heart. "You alright, man?" They'd ask, and he'd nod, but inside he was shouting, "No. Everything is wrong." In his spiraling despair, Jake sought solace in the nearby city, where he could disappear into the crowd. The noise helped silence the chaos in his head. At veterans' cafes and community shelters, he met others who wore their scars like badges, warriors of different battles. They shared their stories, and in those tales of loss and recovery, he began to find echoes of his own struggle, a shared fight for dignity, for meaning, and for the deep-seated longing for trust and connection. As Jake fostered new friendships, the weight of his heartbreak transformed into a hardened resolve. He learned about systems of inequality that isolated people just like him, battling their demons in silence. These connections shifted something within him. Maybe he wasn't alone, maybe he could still reclaim his life from this giant cloud of betrayal, but the thought of confrontation loomed heavy. Mark, his brother, cherished since childhood, now felt like a stranger. They had always had each other's backs. Yet now, Jake burned with an urge for a reckoning. Before he could gather the courage, Sarah's phone call interrupted his thoughts. Her voice trembled as she desperately tried to explain, each word twisting like a knife. "Jake, please," she breathed heavily, and he felt his heart racing. Hope and anger clashed within him. Could he forgive her? Could he protect their family, or was that even possible? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing in the shadows of the city, feeling the heartbeat of a community alive yet uncertain, Jake was at a crossroads. Would he confront the brother who betrayed him? Could healing come from forgiveness? As Sarah's words echoed in his mind, he found himself torn, the impossible choice swirling in his gut. What would he decide? Jake stared blankly at the buzzing phone in his hand. Sarah's name lit up the screen, and the tremor in her voice played over and over in his mind like a haunting melody. He could hear the desperation beneath her tone. Jake, please. She had always been the anchor in his life, but now, it felt like the ship was sinking, and she was holding a dagger, waiting to stab him deeper. With each passing moment, his fury and sadness morphed into something else, an icy resolve. He took a deep breath, the sweet scent of the city rushing through him. Blocks away, the sounds of laughter and music echoed from cafes filled with people who seemed oblivious to the world crumbling around him. He tightened his grip on the phone, wishing for clarity in the midst of chaos. Taking one last look at the crowd, he strolled to a nearby park bench, sinking down onto the splintered wood. The city moved around him, life bustling, yet he felt like a ghost among the living. The thought of confronting Mark brought back a barrage of memories. They were kids, running through mud and playing football in the yard. But those memories were tainted now, stained by betrayal. Maybe if I talked to him, but the thought was as quickly dismissed as it formed. Could he face his brother? Would he even want to? Mark had crossed an unseen line, one that should never be blurred between brothers. His heart ached, both for himself and for Sarah, a woman who once embodied warmth and safety, now a stranger with secrets. What if she doesn't deserve forgiveness? The question clawed at his mind, vivid and relentless. But deep down, other images flickered, reminders of the love they had built, the family they had dreamed of. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the wind wash over him, cooling his heated skin. Maybe there was a way to untangle this mess. He realized that it wouldn't just be about confrontation, but about understanding. Understanding what led them to this betrayal. Timing was everything. His thoughts drifted to the confrontation he dreaded. What would he say? Would he lash out in anger, or could he approach it like the calm mechanic he usually was? He imagined Mark's face, that familiar grin turned uncertain, and Sarah's pleading eyes. Fear gripped him, a fear of losing everything, or perhaps even worse, of losing a part of himself in the process. That he couldn't stay in this limbo forever. Finally, determination surged inside him. He pulled up Sarah's contact and stared at the screen above, an invitation to either peace or destruction. Jake took a deep breath, and before he could second-guess himself, his thumb moved, hovering over the call button. Then, a vibration pulled his attention, lifting his gaze. Across the park, he saw Mark, distant yet unmistakable. Jake's heart dropped. What are the odds? Instinct kicked in, and his feet moved before he could think twice. As he approached, he felt his heart pounding in his chest, thoughts racing. What would he say? Would he hear apologies or justifications? Would he even let Mark explain a damn thing? The air thickened, each step feeling heavier than the last, but as he neared, he noticed Mark's eyes light up with surprise, then quickly shift to nervousness. Jake halted before Mark. In that moment, everything else faded away, the noise, the world, all that mattered was this reckoning. Why, Mark? Why? Jake's voice was steady but laced with betrayal, a rawness that echoed through the quiet park. But before Mark could respond, Jake sensed something behind him, a familiar face, a soft touch on his shoulder. Jake, it was Sarah. In that moment, this confrontation was about to unravel into something much deeper, something he couldn't foresee. Would he find closure or descend into further chaos? Jake felt the air thicken around him as Sarah stepped closer. Her presence was both a comfort and a torment, each breath he took mixing with the uncertainty swirling between them. He couldn't tear his gaze from Mark's face, which shifted between confusion and guilt. Sarah, his voice trailed off, caught in a tangled web of emotions. The confrontation he had imagined countless times seemed suddenly inadequate. It wasn't just about Mark's betrayal anymore, it was about Sarah's choices, her presence darkened by shadows of betrayal. Listen, Jake, Sarah started, her voice barely above a whisper. But the weight of her plea was suffocating. Do you even get what's happening right now? He shot back, his anger bubbling to the surface. You show up like this, as if everything is fine. You don't get to just walk in here. Mark shifted nervously, trying to gauge the situation, but Jake had already made up his mind. He turned away from Mark, unwilling to see the brother he once admired crumbling under scrutiny. Instead, his attention was fixed on Sarah, the woman who had been his partner in every aspect of life, now feeling so utterly foreign. Jake, Sarah's voice cracked, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I know you're hurting. I can't explain everything right now. But there are things you don't understand, things I don't understand. He clenched his fists, pain radiating through his chest like electric shocks. Is it that you slept with Mark? Or is it how easily you tore our lives apart? Jake, please. She stepped forward, desperation etched in her features. You need to let me explain. He was torn, caught between a desire to listen and the need to protect his heart from further damage. Memories of their laughter and dreams flickered in front of him, contrasting with today's stark reality. A part of him wanted to reach out, to hold her and seek comfort, but another was screaming to push her away, to reclaim his dignity. What could you possibly say that would make this okay? His voice lowered, almost a whisper, as vulnerability seeped through his anger. How could you betray me, let alone with him? Mark finally found his voice, though it trembled under the weight of accusations. Jake, I never meant for this to happen. It was a mistake. It's not what you think. Not what I think. Jake shot back. Then enlighten me, Mark. What should I think when I see you two together? The air shifted again, charged with something heavier than confession. Jake's heart raced as he watched Mark's expression transform, fear replacing the uncertainty. I care about you, man, he said cautiously. I messed up. But Sarah, she was there for me when I was struggling. This isn't about you, it's about us. It just happened. Jake felt blind rage rise, but alongside it, a sliver of doubt. Us? Both of you? That just makes everything worse. It's complicated. But I never wanted to hurt you, either of you. Mark exclaimed, his voice growing more intense, edging on pleading. Tension enveloped them, and Jake found himself overwhelmed by the weight of truth looming over him. If he let them talk, what would he find out? Could there be deeper reasons behind their choices? But before the thoughts could coalesce into clarity, Sarah took a brave step forward. Jake, I fell for him when I thought we were losing everything. I thought you were drifting away. Her honesty scraped against the raw wounds of his heart. Suddenly, the two betrayed pieces of his life were woven together in a way he never intended. He struggled against the conflicting waves of anger, love, and disappointment crashing within him. Maybe I don't even know who you are anymore, he breathed, grappling with the turmoil inside. But do you even want to fix this? I want us, she said, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of the woman he loved. I want your heart back, my love. Would he be strong enough to listen, to parse through the tangled truth between them and find a thread that might lead back to forgiveness? Jake stood motionless, breathless in the aftermath of her declaration. The world around him seemed to fade, the chatter of the coffee shop now muted, leaving only the three of them locked in a moment loaded with unspoken words. His heart slammed against his chest, a frantic drum echoing in his ears. She wanted him back. But how could he reconcile her request with the shattering of his trust? You want us? He echoed, disbelief heating his voice. Do you even hear yourself, Sarah? You broke everything we had. How can we go back to us after this? Her gaze fell to the floor, and for a fleeting moment, the weight of their shared history hung heavy in the air. Memories raced through his mind, late-night talks, shared dreams, the way her laughter had once felt like home. Now, all those pieces felt like fragments of a life that was slipping further and further away. I wish I could take it all back, she whispered, her eyes fixed on his. I never meant to hurt you. I don't love Mark in the same way, but I don't know. It was a moment. A terrible, horrible moment. And that moment destroyed us. The bitter truth tasted sharp on his tongue. How can I be sure it won't happen again? Mark shifted uncomfortably, casting a wary glance between them. Jake, I can't change what happened. But I can tell you it was never about you. It was my weakness, my failure. Jake's anger flared, threatening to consume him entirely. The brother he had once trusted was now a stranger, one who had crossed a line that felt unforgivable. This isn't just between you two. This is about everything, the loyalty, the brotherhood. How could you turn to her when you knew what it would do to me? I know, Mark said, his voice heavy with regret. But at that moment, I felt lost. Sarah, she was there. I didn't think, and I don't have any excuses. The silence that followed was brutally thick. Jake felt as if he were suffocating under the weight of their confessions. Love, betrayal, regret, each emotion was a concrete block weighing down his heart. You thought you could hide it forever, Jake said quietly. That it wouldn't divide us? Sarah reached out, desperation glowing in her eyes. I didn't want to lose you. I thought if I could just connect with someone, remind myself of what we had, I didn't think it would go this far. And that's where you thought wrong, he replied, shaking his head. You put your heart in the wrong hands. His words hung heavy, and Sarah stepped back. The future that had once shimmered with promise now stood bleak and uncertain. I can't pretend I'm not hurt by what you did, he said, feeling the tears he had held back threatening to spill. But can you really blame me for not knowing if I can trust you again? Her hands fell limp at her sides, remorse flooding her features. Jake, I love you. All I want is a chance to make this right. To show you I can be the woman you loved again. Can you? The question tore from his lips, raw and unguarded. Can you really? What if it's all just words? I wish I could give you more, Sarah replied, emotion cracking her voice. But I need you to look in your heart and see that I'm still here. We can work through the pain, together. The hope hanging between them felt fragile, ready to shatter with a single breath. I don't know if I can forgive you now, Sarah. I don't know if I can even look at you without thinking of him. Mark shifted again, guilt etched deeper in his expression. We can't fix this today, brother. But I'll do whatever it takes to help you find some peace, even if that means I have to step back. The possibility of a path forward glimmered, but Jake felt swallowed by uncertainty. Could he really turn back towards love when betrayal loomed? Was there a way to reclaim what was lost? Take time, Sarah suggested, vulnerability coloring her tone. We can breathe and find a way through if you're willing to try. The swirling storm of emotion inside him left him gasping for clarity. Jake looked between them, two faces filled with regret and yearning, yet nothing felt certain. Would the scars of today always hold him back from the love they once shared? The weight of the question settled over him like a shroud, and he couldn't shake the growing fear that the real journey had only just begun. Jake stared blankly at Sarah and Mark, the dim lights of the coffee shop flickering in and out of focus. His thoughts were a whirlwind, each one crashing into the other, refusing to settle. The woman he had loved, the brother he had trusted, both standing in front of him, but feeling so incredibly far away. Time, he repeated softly, as if testing the word. You want me to just give it time, after everything? His voice was steadier than he felt, but inside, he was on shaky ground. Sarah nodded, tears glimmering in her eyes. Yes, just some time. To breathe. Think. I know I hurt you, Jake. But if we take this moment to rediscover who we are without the weight of betrayal. Rediscover who we are. He interrupted, the bitterness flooding back into his tone. You think I can just wipe my memory clean? I can't forget what happened, Sarah. Not now, not ever. Mark shifted uncomfortably again, tension coiling tightly around them. Jake, listen to her. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was weak. But maybe if you really want to try, you need to step back for a bit. A bit? Jake scoffed. What's a bit supposed to do? Give me a magical solution. Sometimes, you don't see the whole picture until you step away from it, Mark said, an earnest edge creeping into his voice. You have to decide if holding on to your pain is worth sacrificing the love you still might feel. Jake clenched his fists, his heart racing. You don't get to tell me what to do. You lost your right to dictate my feelings the moment you shared my life with her. The room fell silent, the words hanging heavy like the cool, bitter air of the autumn evening outside. An older couple at a nearby table glanced over, their eyes mirroring Jake's turmoil. It was clear he was no longer just a part of the cafe's background, he was the storm brewing in the center. With a deep breath, Jake tried to steady himself. I've never felt so lost. I trusted both of you. And now I'm just left here, trying to pick up the pieces of something that was once beautiful. I know, Sarah whispered, stepping closer, her hands trembling. I'm scared too. But letting go of our love feels like losing a part of my soul. I can't do that. He could see the authenticity in her eyes, yet doubt lingered like a thick fog. But what if it breaks me completely, Sarah? What if I can't come back from this? Trust isn't something you just fix. It takes time, she repeated, desperation flaring in her voice. I'll show you that I can earn back your love, your trust. Just please don't close the door on us. Not yet. Jake's heart ached at her pleading tone. He wanted to believe her, wanted to believe they could somehow find a way through this, but the shadows of betrayal loomed ominously in his mind. Every thought was a reminder of what he could lose, or worse, what he could still lose again. He felt like he was standing at a cliff's edge, peering into darkness. And if we can't make it work? He finally asked quietly, his voice cracking under the weight of his fears. Then we'll know we tried, Sarah said, unwavering. But I have to believe we can heal this. I refuse to just walk away. Mark took a step back, crossing his arms as if to give them space. It's your decision, Jake. Honestly, I wouldn't blame you if you shut us both out. But if you even think about trying, know I'll do whatever it takes to respect your choice moving forward. The silence returned, pressing lovingly but heavily against Jake's heart, the question of his next move echoing in his mind. Could he really accept the shattered pieces of their love? Could he hold out hope amidst the wreckage? Jake looked at Sarah, then at Mark, both faces reflecting the anguish of their shared history. The coffee shop hummed around them again, a world oblivious to their struggle. In that moment, he realized this wasn't just about love, this was a test of his own strength. A chance to redefine everything they had ever known. Would he take the leap into that uncertain future, or would he let the fear of falling hold him back for good? As he swallowed hard, the answer loomed just out of reach, leaving him with an unsettling question lingering in the corners of his mind. Was the possibility of love truly worth the risk of reopening old wounds? The tension in the room thickened, wrapping around Jake like a heavy blanket. His pulse raced as he shifted his gaze between Sarah and Mark. What they were asking felt monumental, a leap into the unknown where love and pain coexisted in alarming balance. What does trying even look like? Jake finally demanded, his voice steady but lower, almost a hushed tone. How do we move forward from this? The question hung in the air, a desperate plea for clarity. Sarah bit her lip, a flicker of hope sparking behind her tear-stained eyes. We take it day by day. We talk. We make new memories. I'll prove to you that I'm still the woman you loved, the one you laughed with and planned a future with, just without the taint of betrayal hanging over us. And what if I can't? The doubt crept in, but he fought against it. What if every smile is just a reminder of what's broken? Then we face it together, Mark interjected, his voice urgent yet soft, as if he were holding delicately onto the hope within the shattered pieces. If I have to be the one to step back, I will. But you have to know that we're both here for you. You won't be alone in this. The cafe around them buzzed with conversations and the clattering of cups, while they stood in their isolated storm. Jake's heart ached. It was hard to imagine a road to recovery from betrayal when every turn felt like another sharp knife to his gut. Day by day he whispered, letting the words wash over him. It felt absurd, but maybe a small part of him wanted to try. Perhaps he had to, for his own sake if nothing else. He inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth of front-loaded memories mix with family dinners and shared moments that now felt tainted. If I'm going to do this, you both need to understand there's no going back. I need honesty. Full transparency, he said, hardening his resolve. No secrets, no half-truths. I can't live like that anymore. Sarah nodded vigorously, relief flooding through her. Absolutely. I promise. I won't hide anything from you. This is our chance, Jake. Mark glanced between them, his body tense but hopeful. We're going to rebuild this. I'll keep my distance physically and emotionally. I want you to find your way back to trusting her, and trusting yourself again. Jake felt an unfamiliar weight settle on his chest. In some ways, he was accepting the fragility of hope, the slimmest chance that they could emerge intact from this chaos. But would this fragile truce be enough? He didn't know. "All right, let us give it a shot," he breathed softly. It felt like stepping into a minefield, every step a potential explosion of old pain. But somewhere, buried under the rubble, glimmered the light of what could be a love worth caution, worth rebuilding. As they sat there, uncertainty rippling through the air, Jake's heart was heavy yet lightened by the possibility. Would his journey towards recovery arise from the ashes of betrayal, or would the past haunt him too deeply? Still, the thought lingered in the quiet corners of his mind. What if this try simply led them to another heartbreak? Could he truly bear the burden of their unresolved love? Jake's resolve wavered like the flickering lights above their heads, both a beacon and a warning. Jake stared hard at the table, the wood grain twisting into an abstract swirl that mirrored his thoughts. Day by day. It sounded deceptively simple, like a new mantra he could clutch tightly, yet the concept felt heavy, weighted down by past betrayals. He cleared his throat, fighting to keep his voice steady. "Okay," he started, glancing at Sarah. "Let us talk about the things we can do differently. If we're going to make this work, we need a fresh start." Sarah nodded, her eyes wide with both fear and anticipation. "Like what?" "Let us define what trust means for us," he said, drawing a breath. "How do we build back what we lost? We need to communicate more. No late nights where I don't know where you are. No more going through your phone without asking. It has to be open." Mark leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "That's fair. What about situations that might trigger memories or emotions, like anniversaries or places that hold value?" "Good point," Jake replied, grateful for Mark's input. "Let us be upfront about those, too. If something feels off, let us talk about it instead of letting it fester." The words flowed from him easier now, a release of pent-up frustrations. Maybe they could rewrite the narrative together, brick by brick. An unexpected warmth spread through his chest at the thought. The table felt like a planning ground for a new chapter in their tangled lives. "I want family dinners again," Sarah said, her eyes reflecting an earnest desire. "I miss the laughter. I want to rekindle those moments, not just for us, but for you, too, Mark." The mention of family pierced Jake with a bittersweet sting. Could they really revive those joyful times? Yet, he knew it was necessary to believe. He nodded slowly. "We'll make new memories. I'll try, and that starts now." After a long pause, Mark broke the silence. "I'll step back and allow you both the space you need. But don't forget, I'm still here if you need me." "Thanks," Jake murmured, grateful yet uneasy at the thought of Mark fading into the background. Sarah reached across the table, her fingers brushing against his. The touch felt foreign, electric, a ghost of their former intimacy. "Jake, I know this one to be easy. I know I hurt you, and I can't take that back, but please give me a chance to earn your trust again." He felt the weight of her plea, heavy yet uplifting, like the sun breaking through clouds after a storm. "I'll try," he echoed, but deep inside, the shadow of doubt flickered. The rest of their conversation focused on logistics, how they navigate their daily lives, who would reach out to friends and family about the awkwardness, how to keep it under wraps until they felt ready for the world to know. Jake's exhaustion gnawed at him as the platitudes rolled on, but he kept his cool, listening to their plans. An emotional riptide he had to swim against. As they left the cafe, the cool evening air refreshed him, but Jake remained hesitant. "Let us take this slow," he said firmly, looking at the both of them. "Let us not rush into anything." Sarah smiled lightly, though it faltered. "Agreed. I respect your pace, Jake." "Good," he replied, though his heart drummed a faster beat in opposition to his words. But as they stepped into the night, ready to face this new reality, a nagging thought kept clenching his gut. The real test loomed ahead. Could they truly overcome this, or would the cracks widen as they dug deeper into their truths? With every step, the uncertainty clawed at him. Had the trust been buried too deep, or could they truly unearth a love that had faced the ultimate betrayal? The horizon stretched before them, dark and uncertain, yet Jake had to believe one step at a time. And deep down, a better question loomed: what would happen when the past came knocking on their fragile door? Jake walked slowly, each footstep heavy with doubt. The streets were quieter than usual, their silence amplifying his racing thoughts. He felt Sarah and Mark walking beside him, but they were both worlds away. It was as if an invisible wall had gone up, separating their pain from the tenuous efforts they were now making to bridge it. They arrived at his apartment, a space that had seen both laughter and heartbreak. As he unlocked the door, Jake hesitated. Inside were memories, some warm, some scorching. Would they be able to reshape this place into a sanctuary for healing, or just a reminder of what once was? "Do you want to talk more about our plans?" Sarah asked, stepping inside after him. Her voice had a hopeful lilt, but Jake felt it falter when the air in the room shifted. Everything felt so raw. "Maybe we could watch a movie," Mark suggested, trying to offer some lightness to the dark, heavy air. "Yeah, sounds good," Jake replied, forcing a smile. He was the one that needed to keep things steady, or at least appear that way. Chasing away the shadows felt like swimming upstream, but he was willing to fight the current. As they settled onto the couch, plugged into a flickering screen, Jake couldn't focus on the story unfolding on screen. Instead, his mind kept wandering back to their conversation at the cafe. What did trust really signify? Could it truly be rebuilt, or was he just setting himself up for another fall? Halfway through the movie, Jake turned to Sarah. "Can we talk about boundaries?" The moment was awkward, but necessary. "I mean, what do we want out of this? Where are the lines?" Her brow furrowed slightly, and she nodded. "Yes, absolutely. I want clear understanding. I don't want to revisit past mistakes." "Good," he said, his heart quickening. "I think we should both be honest about our feelings when they bubble up. So, if you're feeling jealous or anxious, I need you to say it. No ghosting, digging into secrets." "I promise," Sarah said, squeezing his hand. "I'll do my absolute best. It's going to be hard, but I'm committed." As they spoke, Jake felt a flicker of something, maybe hope. But shadows still hung around the edges. Memories popped into his head like firecrackers. The look in her eyes that night. The words exchanged that had turned love into distrust. "Remember when we used to talk about everything?" he asked. "I miss that. I want to be able to share without fear of judgment." Sarah looked away for a moment, searching for the right words. "I miss it too. No walls, just us. I know I built barriers, and I need to take them down." Mark watched silently, the intensity of the moment gnawing at him. "You're both brave," he finally said, a softness in his voice. "But don't forget, it takes time to peel layers away. Some may be tougher than you expect." Jake nodded, the reality settling in. There was no quick fix, no magic solution to erase the past. This journey to reconnect was going to be messy, a constant battle between hope and disappointment. Just then, the sound of his phone buzzing broke the tension. He jumped slightly, digging into his pocket and pulling it free. The screen lit up with an unknown number landline. Heart racing, he hesitated, then swiped to answer. "Hello." A familiar voice crackled through the line. "Jake. It's me." Recognition slammed into him. His brother. Memories of betrayal wiped away all the progress he felt he was making. Anxiety pooled in his stomach like an icy stone. "Why are you calling?" he managed to ask, realizing that everything they had just built could be threatened by this phone call. "What do you mean?" his brother replied, the tone dripping with a mix of defiance and guilt. Jake's jaw tightened. Were they really prepared for this? Was this the moment the past came bursting through their fragile door? Jake's heart thundered in his chest. Every memory of betrayal came rushing back, sharp and vivid. He thought of the late-night calls, the secretive whispers, the way his brother had turned a bond of family into a weapon of unfathomable pain. Taking a deep breath, he steadied his voice. "What do you want? I don't have time for this right now." A pause filled the line, and Jake could hear someone breathing, maybe trying to find the right words. "I just wanted to talk. I figured you might be ready to hear my side." "Your side? Are you serious? You think I'm ready for that?" Jake's frustration flared. Memories of laughter turned bitter, all the holidays and shared moments felt tainted now. What could you possibly say that would make any of this better? "I messed up, Jake. I know that. But you need to understand it wasn't just me. There were reasons, things you didn't see." Jake leaned against the kitchen counter, trying not to scream into the phone. The furniture felt like it was closing in on him. "You have no idea what I've been working through. I don't need your excuses dragging me down." Mark and Sarah exchanged worried glances. They could see the color draining from Jake's face, his hands trembling slightly. Sarah reached out to touch his arm, grounding him, but he hardly noticed. His brother's voice remained steady. "I know you're hurt, and you have every right to be. But I want to apologize, to explain." "Too late for that," Jake interrupted, his voice choked. "You don't get to just show up in my life again and expect me to listen. You tore everything apart." Jake felt anger boiling over, but beneath it was a layer of confusion, a part of him wanting closure yet paralyzed by the thought of it all. Could he really hear what his brother had to say? Did he even want to? "Let me just..." his brother started again, but Jake cut him off. "No. You don't get to talk about understanding when you brought this into my life. If you want forgiveness," then the words caught in his throat. "Then what? Let you lie there in the dark with all those emotions?" His brother's voice softened, almost desperate. "What I did was wrong, but I can't change the past. If you don't give us a chance to even talk, how can we ever move on?" Jake's eyes were wild, a storm crashing through his thoughts. Part of him wanted to slam the phone down, cut all connections for good. But a tiny voice whispered that maybe there was a way through, even if it was painful. "Jake." Sarah's voice was gentle, breaking through his storm. "You don't have to decide everything right now. Just breathe." He took a moment, reality seeping back in. A glance at Mark, his steady presence, his willingness to support without thought to his own discomfort. "What do you really want from me?" Jake finally managed to ask his brother. "I want to make amends. But I can't do it alone. Please let me explain. Things can change. We can change." Jake's gut twisted. Was he ready to open this door? Could the painful truth actually lead to healing, or would it just unleash more chaos? The weight of the moment felt suffocating, testing every shred of his resolve. As he stood there, battling his own tumultuous emotions, he didn't notice Sarah's hand slip away. Everything felt fragile, and yet wasn't that how life always was? No answers came to him as his brother continued to speak, the words drowning in noise. But a flicker of curiosity ignited within him. What if, just maybe, this conversation held the key to his healing? Taking a deep breath, Jake said the words he had been both longing and fearing to say. "Okay. Let us talk, but on my terms." Would he regret this? Only time would tell as the walls around his heart began to shudder. The air was thick with emotions, a delicate dance of fear and hope. Jake sat on the worn couch, the darkness of the space closing in but illuminated by the flickering light of a television screen. His brother's voice echoed in his head, "Let us talk, but on my terms." Mark and Sarah remained tense but attentive, their eyes glued to him, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the atmosphere. Jake took a moment, feeling his heart pounding in uncertainty. How would this unfold? He thought of the past, the betrayal, the pain piercing through the fabric of their once happy lives. With a steely gaze, he finally spoke, "I'll hear you out, but understand this, my trust is on the line. If you want to talk, it starts with honesty and transparency. No more lies, no more secrets. The silence that followed felt tangible, like a thick fog wrapping around them. Mark cleared his throat, the tension in his body palpable as he prepared to speak. I agree. I want to own what I did, to make it right. Jake felt anger flicker beneath his calm facade, and he couldn't help but remember how that hidden phone call had shattered his life. What makes you think your words will hold weight now? After everything? I messed up. I will never say that was anything other than my failure, Mark said earnestly, but what you don't know is how lost I felt too. Jake crossed his arms, a fortress against vulnerability. Lost? That's no excuse, Mark. You don't destroy everything just because you're confused. As his blood simmered, Sarah interjected softly, Jake, maybe we need to hear both sides. This is all part of the process, too. It wouldn't be fair for him to just stand there and take everything. That earned a strike of shame, but Jake pushed it aside. Fine. But remember, I deserve the truth. No sugarcoating. Mark nodded, a flicker of determination in his eyes. I was never supposed to fall for her, for Sarah. It just happened when I felt abandoned myself. It was weak, the kind of mistake that not only hurt you but ruined our bond. A cold shiver coursed through Jake as he listened. His heart thumped in rhythm with memories of laughter, of brotherhood. You both were supposed to have my back. Your family. Jake. Sarah breathed, trying to connect in that tense moment. I was never your enemy. I wanted you, but I felt this distance growing every day. When Mark came to me seeking comfort, I was foolish enough not to see the edge I was standing on. Jake felt his throat tighten, pushed to the brink of emotional confrontation. That doesn't justify your actions. You took a moment of weakness and destroyed our lives. Did you even think about how I would feel, how my entire world would become unrecognizable? I never meant for it to end up like this, Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. I was lost too. Distraught. It's like we were all standing in a storm and couldn't find our way to each other. And now? Jake asked, feeling his resolve waver as he looked from Mark to Sarah. What do we do with this storm? Sarah wiped her eyes, her expression shifting to one of fierce determination. We face it together. We can't go back, but we can try to build something anew, brick by brick. Mark leaned forward, earnestness etched into his face. I'll step away if that's what it takes. Just tell me, Jake, do you want to work on this? Because I love my brother, and I want to fix this. Jake felt caught in a vice of emotions, the past battling the possibility of a future. He thought of Sarah, her laughter, their dreams. Could he forgive? Could he trust again? Silence hung, fractured yet inviting. I don't want to hurt anymore, Jake finally spat, shockwaves of pain coursing through him. But then let's take it one day at a time. I'll prove to you both that I can earn your trust back, Sarah pleaded, her voice strong beneath the wails of anguish. Jake inhaled deeply. You both need to understand it's not something I can just flip a switch and forgive. It's a process, and I can't do it alone. A fragile optimism flickered amidst the darkness. Let's open communication. No topics off limits. If something is bothering me, hear what I've got to say, Jake laid it out. Agreed, Mark replied. I will take the back seat. Whatever you need, I'm here to support you to anything. I need family dinners again. I miss the laughter, said Sarah, hope shining through her tears. Then let's make that happen, Jake admitted with a reluctant smile. For all of us. As they continued to hash out their new reality, the evening air began to fill with tentative laughter where sorrow once dominated. Memories intermingled with hope, a fragile balance of what once was and what might be. Jake realized this journey wouldn't be quick or easy. But inside him stirred a flicker of resilience, a sense that perhaps, just perhaps, they were bold enough to face the storm and emerge brighter on the other side. With every step into this uncharted territory, Jake felt a small warmth rekindling the trust that had been lost. Their lives may be stained by mistakes, but they also bore the faint prints of love and laughter enough to hold on to, as fragile as it was, and with that, a determination solidified within Jake's heart. He would walk this path, one step at a time, and maybe, just maybe, he could find his way back to love. As they sat together, talking, mending, an urgent message pulsed forward, louder than the thoughts filled with doubt. You need to subscribe now to follow their journey, because this is only the beginning. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this twist. You have to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Show your love and support, it means the world.